What's up? Welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of PinkPantheress' debut album, Heaven Knows. PinkPantheress, rapidly rising to pop stardom, really only came onto everyone's radar in a big way 2 years ago, 2021. Found a lot of success posting songs and snippets on TikTok, getting a lot of love for her, I think, intriguing use of samples and just presenting, I think, a really compelling new form of dance pop, and got a lot of critical acclaim. Her debut EP, "To Hell with It," mainstay on top 10 lists from critics for 2021. And since then, the momentum has continued. I was quite shocked that PinkPantheress was not nominated for Best New Artist at the Grammys for 2024, which we just found out. That was a big miss to me. This was kind of a layup pick. Nonetheless, PinkPantheress has been everywhere, and the lead single for Heaven Knows, "Boy's a Liar," Part 2, the Part 2 version, of course, featuring a Ice Spice verse, that song peaked in the top 10 on Billboard. I think to this point, PinkPantheress has also been quite interesting just because the appreciation for her music, it depends on where you are. I think the sampling that she was doing with her earlier music got a lot of attention in the US as kind of like a crate digging mentality, but those reference points were very familiar to the British audience. Of course, PinkPantheress is from the UK, and I think that's kind of interesting to have somebody break through from the UK in a mainstream sense here in the US, because there actually hasn't really been too many British stars lately. At the biggest scale, it's, Ed Sheeran and Harry and Adele. None of them are particularly new people, and Central C, who's featured on this, probably the most ascendant and crossed over British rapper ever, but he's rapidly rising at the same time as PinkPantheress. So it's coming at an interesting time, and Heaven Knows, I think, certainly stands out right off the bat for PinkPantheress because 13 songs, 34 minutes, these are like full-length songs from her. Most of her other songs, even the ones that were fully formed songs with like verse, bridge, verse, chorus, etc., those were all like sub 2 minute songs, very TikTok generation. But, with Heaven Knows, she has, I think, made a point of telling everyone that she was trying to make like real, genuine music, considers herself a pop artist. It was not necessarily tied down to some of the genre convention and stylistic choices that she made on her original come up. And that's kind of evident when you look at the track list here. PinkPantheress co-produced nearly every song on the track list, which is awesome. But she also has some big guns here. Muramasa, Greg Kurstin, just to name a few. She's working with some established people. And I think the stakes have been raised, given how much love and attention, but also popularity she has found in a short amount of time and at such a young age. And I'm happy to say that the PinkPantheress debut album, Heaven Knows, is one of my favorite albums of 2023. I think this album is awesome and really certifies PinkPantheress as one of the most intriguing artists we have, and definitely one of my favorites that we have going right now. I think there's just a lot of awesome stuff here. I'm a fan of pop. I'm a fan of dance pop, and the PinkPantheress brand of dance pop, bringing in some drum and bass, bringing in some UK garage, it's just right up my alley. I think this shit's great. Just kind of going through the track list here. A lot of great features. You have Rema, from on the Afrobeat side of things. Central C, of course, from British hip hop. Kalela from the alternative R&B space. Three choice people to work with, but also I think they all elevate the songs they're on. Really nice pairing. I mean, just shout out Central C, by the way. He's on the PinkPantheress album, which came out the same day as the Kid Laroi album that he's also featured on. Central C, as a UK trap rapper, it's crazy how big he's getting and continues to get. It's so cool. Really happy for him. But it's a really nice pairing between PinkPantheress and Sench, I have to say. Pretty cool. That's on the song Nice to Meet You. But apart from those brief features, I think the PinkPantheress vocal delivery definitely stands out because there's just kind of a light, like, fluffiness to the way she rides her songs, rides the beats. And usually it's like really like up-tempo, like drum production, as you'd expect from like the genre influence. But she just kind of rides that shit and really glides it. It's really fun. And I think, and Heaven Knows, more so than any of her past work, there's some really sticky melodies on here. And I think that might speak to her approach this time around, as she was saying, with trying to be slightly more traditional in the structure of things, but I thought there was just a lot of catchy stuff here. You know, going through it here, the Isle, track 4, man, that's just a bop, man. So up tempo, definitely more traditional, but I think that song's great. Nice to Meet You, it's Cinch, as I said, I really like that one. Internet Baby Interlude, despite the fact that it's called an interlude, that is incredibly catchy performance from Pink Panther. She sounds so good. I love her flow on that. Ophelia, I love the drums. Feel Complete, another absolute banger. I love the drums. I think the performance is so fun. It's upbeat all around, almost like a sci-fi twinkle on the beat. It's so good. The song Blue, definitely like the most drum and bass of all the songs here, but still these really booming, fun vocals from Pink Panthers. The I'm Not Hanging With You part, that refrain is just so sticky. It's great. And Boy's a Liar, which is perfectly fine in its own right, but actually is a nice pairing with Ice Spice, who lays down, one of her short, compact verses like she does, as we know. And it was honestly a great pairing between the two of them. It's if Ice Spice is what took to push Pink Panthers further up to the top, totally cool with it, because I think it's actually a really nice pairing. Um, but yeah, I think overall, just like it's such a package, this album, and it's still pretty brief, even though it's a lot longer than her past project, which was like 18 minutes long. So we're watching a Ascendant star evolve and become more refined in real time, and that's of course really exciting when you can just recognize the talent and the artistry and the vision and all that. That's the type of thing I like to celebrate when I listen to music that excites me, and I think Pink Panthers, as heaven knows, it's definitely something worthy of that praise. So one of my favorite albums of the year. I'm pretty sure it'll be in my top 10. So make sure you come back and check out my best albums of the year when I talk about that next month. And of course, let me know, how did you feel about Pink Panthers' Heaven Knows? Did you like the subtle but noticeable artistic changes she made as she's become a more refined artist? And what's your favorite song? And for more music reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.